everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Mika Wilkerson Show. And today we are going to have some fun because it's all about pro wrestling. And I have ArmBar Pro Wrestling back, and guess who's back? Back to the show. Jarrod, thank you so much for being here again and covering everything about ArmBar.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Great to sit down and talk some wrestling. Never a bad time.
Oh, absolutely. And then we're also going to have a little fun at the end as well. So I want to start out with the pay-per-view oh my God, why did my mind go to pay-per-view? I am so sorry.
Old school wrestling fan.
Yes. And the pro wrestling show that just happened with ArmBar this past Saturday, Cruel Summer.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to go into that first and talk about some of the matches. So we're going to start out with Nick Ultima and Beck Reeves. Correct?
Oh, man. Beck Reeves case closed and the Platinum Blade Nick Ultima. That has been a situation that's been going on since probably March. Those two, they're a tag team called the Ohio Ronins. Probably the favorite tag team in ArmBar Pro in terms of their longevity with us and quality of their matches, and just the audience loves them. But they started having some issues with communication earlier this year. There were a couple of times where one of them was supposed to be somewhere and didn't show up, and then the other one was supposed to be at another place and they didn't show up. So it's caused some issues. So the situation goes that after our show in June, Reality Check, which was in Piqua, Nick challenged Beck, his tag team partner, to a match, and reluctantly Beck had to accept the match. And I think the idea was for the two of them, it was hopefully going to be a bit of a reset. They were going to kick the tar out of each other in hopes that they could shake something loose for their tag team to keep it going. And I don't know where their mindsets are right now, but I do know that the match that I watched was incredible. It was like watching two brothers just beat the snot out of each other.
To get over their anger of each other.
Yeah, to get over their frustration with each other and try to reset the energy between the two of them.
Yeah.
And they really took it to each other. It was quite a match. Beck did wind up getting the win with a very quick pin, kind of out of nowhere, kind of shocked the audience, and the match blew me away. It was amazing. It was very much on par with what our audience has come to expect as far as match quality from ArmBar Pro Wrestling. And I do recall after the match, I got in the ring to talk to both of them to try to interview them to see if whatever issues were going on between the two of them, if they had been settled. And they gave the crowd what they wanted. They hugged it out, and I do think that the future for the Ronins is still in place. But I also know that I watched the two of them absolutely knock the crap out of each other, and it was quite a match. I didn't really expect it to get quite as physical as it did because they're partners. But man, when the gloves came off, they started throwing, and I was impressed at their tenacity. I was impressed at the match itself. It was awesome. It was a great match. Lived up to the hype and then some.
So, with that match being said, are they done with this feud, or do you feel like, this is probably going to continue on for a little bit? There's a lot of bad blood there.
Well, I know they're on the schedule in the future to tag and to continue to compete as a tag team, so I certainly hope for their sake and the sake of their fans that they've got it figured out.
We're hoping, Yeah.
Time will tell. It did appear that they closed the chapter of their story where they felt like they had to kick each other in the face. So hopefully that's the case. Hopefully we get to this next event and on the 22nd of August, and like I said, they're scheduled to tag with one another, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Well, then that leads on to the next match, Marion Fontaine versus Super Frankie, and I got to see Super Frankie in person. He's pretty cool.
Yeah, Super Frankie is he's an interesting character. Yeah, Marion Fontaine, the world's finest semi-professional wrestler, without question, one of my absolute favorite people anywhere, not just in the wrestling business. One of the funnest people to watch compete, one of the funnest people to be around. And you can see it when he comes out from behind the curtain. He's got all the energy, and the crowd just loves him. They eat him up.
Yes.
It was a good match. Fontaine wound up winning. And Fontaine has a situation that's currently brewing between him and another competitor named Big Time Savion Truitt. They had a match against one another in May, and it was a pretty wild finish where we thought that Fontaine had won. Savion had his foot on the ropes. It was a whole thing. Referees came out. Match got restarted. Savion kind of ran out the back door with his belt that night. He's the International Pro Wrestling Heavyweight Champion, and he put the title on the line. I'll give him credit for that. But as to how he kept it and left that night, who's to say? But
right.
What Fontaine did to get a measure of revenge in the most Little Rascals way possible. Savion has a cup that he carries with himself. He calls it the Big Time Chalice, and Fontaine stole his chalice. So,
oh my God!
Savion was not at the event this past Saturday, but Fontaine was, and he had the Big Time Chalice with him, and he laid the challenge back out to Savion after the match. So we will see what happens. We'll see how Savion responds. I know that he's anxious to get his chalice back, but I don't think he's as anxious to put the International Pro Heavyweight Championship on the line. So we'll have to see what happens. But as far as Fontaine and Savion go, again, like two of the guys who, in terms of my aesthetic for wrestling, I love seeing them do their stuff. They're both very unique, and when they wrestled previously, they've wrestled twice. They wrestled once in February, and that was in the ArmBar Pro Heavyweight Title Tournament.
Yeah.
And Savion won that match. That's a whole other story with some interference and things of that nature. But and then in May they had a rematch, and that went the way that it went. Savion left with his title. Fontaine left with Savion's chalice. So there's all kinds of unfinished business happening there. But we'll have to see what our general manager JP Perry does to get them to settle this beef that's happening between them. And I would assume at some point Savion is going to get his property back. But I also believe that because of the I guess what Gorilla Monsoon would say, the miscarriage of justice
right.
that occurred during their matches, that Fontaine's probably going to get himself back in the ring with Savion sooner rather than later, I would think. I hope.
It sounds like they're pretty far from being done with each other. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, there's a lot more meat on the bone there. But I will say, for Fontaine's opponent, Super Frankie 3000, he's got a bit of he's got a style all his own, is what I will say. And he's a fun guy to talk to. Definitely thinks a lot of himself. Definitely holds people around him to a very high standard. It's kind of funny to watch him negotiate that with other human beings. But one thing about him, he's a tenacious competitor, and he didn't pick up the win on Saturday, but he did give Marion Fontaine a good fight.
Okay. Well, we're going to dip into the tag teams for a minute because I love talking about tag teams. I love the solo ones first, but yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to talk about Unsigned Don't Care
versus
Los Latinos. Let's talk about that.
Oh man, okay, so Unsigned Don't Care isn't as much of a tag team as it is like an association of some guys on the independent scene who, and I have all the respect in the world for them. They take pride in being independent. They take pride in the fact that they get in their car and travel the same highways as everybody else, and they earn their money by competing in wrestling, and they do it on the independent circuit. And so that's where the moniker of Unsigned Don't Care comes from.
Right.
In this case, Unsigned Don't Care was represented on ArmBar by the Dead Ringer Aaron Williams, who is just a legend around here and around this region for independent wrestling. And the man who calls himself Wrestling's Last Journeyman, Gary J., who, man, I'll tell you what, he's a guy. He calls himself also the Robo Ginger, and he's just he's such an unorthodox dude. But man, he gets in the ring, and like I've just never heard anyone smack another dude on the chest as hard as he does. Like he chops a dude, and it echoes off the walls. Like even after the show, I could still hear it like reverberating in the room.
That sounds painful.
Man, absolutely lays into the dudes. But they wrestled two guys who made their ArmBar Pro debut, Los Latinos Mas Buscados. And
that's a heck of a name.
Yeah, it was a heck of a match too.
Right.
Those four guys took it to each other. It was incredible to watch. Unsigned Don't Care came away with the win, but it was wall to wall, hard hitting. Just strong style, like kicks, punches, chops, and everything else in between. It was a beautiful match. It was a lot of fun to watch, and I think I try to spend time after every show, like talking to our audience, mingling, make sure everybody had fun.
Yeah.
Especially like the kids, like, did you have a good time? Make sure your parents bring you back next time. That kind of thing.
They're that impressionable when it's that young.
Yeah.
That's a good way for it to grow up in them.
Absolutely. And so with that match, I do believe that for the most part, that was the match that most of the audience came away most impressed with. They were pretty blown away by the performances of both teams. But having said that, the bar was high all night. Every match that ArmBar had on Saturday cooked. It was a really great night.
As far as talking about the chest chops, have you had any fans want to get hit?
No.
Because I've seen a couple of other shows I went to. I heard fans asking for this, and they were getting slapped in the chest, and I could hear it down the hallway, and I'm like, I already know what that is. They're asking to get chopped like a wrestler, and I'm like, you regret it now, don't you?
That's not so much part of our presentation. We keep a very strong boundary between the audience and the wrestlers.
I don't want to leave a mark on you that you're going to remember.
It's safer that way. There's way too much liability you get into when you start letting the audience participate.
That is
outside of the participation that they are granted by
the yays and the boos and the
come in,
and all
you have your signs, you boo, you yell, say whatever you want, that kind of thing. But in terms of physicality with the audience, no, that's not our jam. We don't really get down that way.
Hey, I don't blame it. Again, sometimes because it could be a liability, so I get it.
Most definitely.
Going from that, we are going to head back into. Well, actually, we have another tag team match: the Donovan Cecil and Anthony Tutelli versus Dakota Wolf and Damian Chambers with Kayla.
Opened the night, man. Again, you want to talk about a way to like no better way to open a show than with a match like that. It was amazing. Damian Chambers is a guy who, he's been nothing but a problem.
Right,
he really has. But having said that, he's backed it up about 99% of the time by winning. You can be kind of a jerk if you're winning. If you win,
true.
A lot of things get forgiven. And Damian, man, he gives a lot of crap to our audience. He gives a lot of crap to our general manager. He gives a lot of crap to me, to the people that he has to compete against. But as much as the guy drives me insane and drives everybody else, you cannot argue with his results. He's I don't want to say he's smart. He's cunning. Very cunning, very, very aware of his surroundings in the ring, and just he just, man, you can't bet against the guy, I guess is the best way to put it. Especially when you factor in the fact that he's got Kayla Cassidy on the outside, and she's lethal. She calls herself the most beautiful woman in wrestling. That's up for debate. I think my wife is the most beautiful woman in the world, and that includes wrestling. But she is dangerous on the outside, and she's very useful in that situation. Together combined, they're deadly. His partner, Dakota Wolf, he calls himself the Alpha. He's been on quite a journey with ArmBar Pro. He's been with us for a little over a year now, and he's a guy who every single time I've watched him get in the ring, he's gotten better. And I think probably over this run that we've had since the beginning of the year, potentially has proven himself just like, skill for skill to be maybe our most talented pure wrestler on the roster. Now I think he has a lot of things surrounding him to add to that. Like he carries a giant chain that he's not at all opposed to using in his matches if he has to. But talent-wise, he's just incredible. Getting better every single time I see him. Dakota and Damian, they're not really friends or allies, but they both have their sights set on the ArmBar Pro Heavyweight title. So teaming up against two contenders like Donovan Cecil, guy who calls himself the Mammoth, and the Flowing Samoan Anthony To'Atale, to them it was like the perfect.
Oh God, I pronounced that so wrong. I am so sorry.
I don't think it's too bad. I think everybody kind of gets his name wrong for a while. It took me. I'm the ring announcer, and it took me like a minute to figure it out, right? There, I think the idea for Damian and Dakota to team up to take those two on was to put themselves back in contention as quickly as possible. Did that work? I have no idea. I'm not the general manager. But what wound up happening was Dakota was in for the in the majority of the match, doing the majority of the work, the majority of the heavy lifting, taking the brunt of the punishment, and Damian would find just little ways to get himself involved in the match, just enough to do some damage and then get out before anything gets done to him. And in the end, Dakota kind of had everything squared away and was getting ready to end the match. Damian tagged himself in, and he was able to, scrounge himself a little bit of glory there at the end, and they did win. You can't really argue with the results. They did what they came to do. I don't think at the end of the night they were on the same page. I think Dakota was a little pissed that he had to do all of the work, and then Damian came in just quick enough to get the pin. But I will say for all four of those guys, Damian Chambers, Dakota Wolf, Donovan Cecil, and Anthony To'Atale, I know all four of those guys are at or near the top of the pecking order in terms of contention in ArmBar Pro Wrestling. And I don't envy JP right now. He's got a lot of work to do to figure out beyond our next show who the top contenders are and who's going to be in the running to compete with Troy Parker for the ArmBar Pro title. But yeah, that match opened the night, and again, I just you couldn't come up with a hotter start to a wrestling event anywhere. I'm certain of that.
Yeah. It sounds like they really brought the house down.
It was awesome.
Wow. And so now I'm going to go into it is the Silverback Open Challenge. Who came out?
So Chris Hall is a guy. He calls himself the Silverback. He's a Springfield native, so he always gets a huge reaction when he comes out in front of the Springfield crowd. And he has been kind of on a tear lately, but he's a giant. He's 320 plus pounds. He's solid as a rock, and he can mow over pretty much anybody. And so he's been having trouble finding competition. So he just he kind of took it into his own hands and said, I'm going to go out to the ring. I'm going to call out the entire locker room, and whoever's dumb enough to come stand across the ring for me, I'm going to pummel them. So he put out the challenge, and the challenge was answered by Kronos the Berserker, the Waverly Hills Sanitarium Zone. And it looked like we were going to have a really interesting, just two giant dudes just beating the crap out of each other sort of scenario.
Yeah.
But right before the match started, a guy by the name of Techno Cowboy came out from behind the curtain and pretty much just insinuated himself into the match.
Wow.
And Techno Cowboy is a good 180 pounds, so he was by far the smallest guy in the ring. But a guy who just fights his ass off. Like, he just doesn't care. Has all the bravery and all the courage, even if he's not the same size as the other guys.
Like a Darby Allin type.
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of a Spike Dudley-ish almost, where he'll step up to the plate and take on anybody. He doesn't care what the size difference is or anything.
Right.
Chris wound up winning the match, but I think he came away incredibly impressed by Techno Cowboy's courage and his guts to come out to take on two guys who were that much bigger than him. And it was an impressive match. It wasn't a long match, but I thought all three guys looked really good at times. And Chris he's a dominant force in ArmBar Pro, and he walked away with the win.
Hey, there ain't nothing wrong with that. You got to get out there and stick yourself out and take on the big guys and show I can run with the big ones or the small ones.
That's right.
Now we're going to get into the Troy Parker versus Benjamin Boone. What happened with that match?
That was our main event. And, Troy Parker has been on this run that I can't really wrap my head around it. He's one of the most impressive dudes in the industry right now. And he's wrestling everywhere, which is the best part. I mean, he's so good right now, but he's just scratching the surface. He's young, and he's got a lot of time left to just continue to get better. And I don't think ArmBar could be represented by a better champion right now. Benjamin Boone, on the other hand, is a guy who calls himself the greatest man that ever lived, if that tells you anything.
Yeah.
In Piqua, he kicked me
In the jewels.
in the downstairs. He demanded that I got in the ring to interview him after he won his #1 contenders gauntlet, and then I don't know, I just took my focus off of him, or took the situation for granted, and I got kicked low and dropped. So I'm not going to say I had a bias going into this match, but he did kick me in the nuts. So it was a fun match for me to watch. Ben, to his credit, he was a savage. He attacked Troy before the bell, dragged him outside. They fought all through the crowd, and Ben was really dragging him all over the building, giving him the business early on.
See, I like a match like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but when Troy figures his opponent out and he takes that match over,
Yeah.
it's just it. It's over. Like Troy is, I don't know how tall he is. He's probably 6'4". He's right up near 300 pounds, but he moves like a tailback. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
he's an incredible athlete and just a brilliant competitor in terms of knowing what his opponent's going to do and knowing what to do in response to
Predicting,
what his opponent's going to do.
being able to watch their moves, study their moves, and then predict what you're going to do
Right.
when you go in.
Ability beyond his years, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
So watching him when he kind of like in that match, when he kind of took control and the rubber met the road, and seeing him unleash a barrage of weapons on Ben Boone like that, I didn't feel so bad about getting kicked. I'll give it to you that way. It was
Right. A little satisfaction.
yeah, it was a little satisfying to see Ben Boone just get the absolute crap slapped out of him multiple times. It was an awesome match, and ultimately Ben pulled out his usual bag of tricks, and he actually kicked the ref this time.
So he's got a kicking problem.
Yeah,
huh?
he's got a new favorite move, which is illegal. It's kicking people in the nuts. The ref the ref went down, as you want to do when you get kicked in the nuts.
Right.
And when Ben was gonna take advantage and nail Troy with the title, Aaron Williams came out, stopped him, and Troy was able to put Ben away. And it was a thing of beauty. It was an awesome match. It was like, great movie villains. When you watch a great movie villain get theirs and just go down to the fiery depths, it was like that. It was like, and Ben, again, to his credit, like, he knew why he was there. He was not there to impress anyone. He was not there to showboat. He was not there to sell anything or buy anything. He wanted the ArmBar Pro Heavyweight title, and he threw everything he had at Troy. And like, there were multiple times where I was like, wow, like, Ben's gonna be the champion tonight. It was like
That close.
it got up to but Troy, the resilience and the talent is just undeniable. And Troy walked away, and he's still the champion. And ArmBar is fortunate to have a title holder like that representing our company. There's no question about it.
How long has he been the champion?
He's our first champion. He's held the belt since February 7th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was the night that that was our show it was titled Awakening, and that was the night that we had our ArmBar Pro title tournament, and he won.
Okay. So now that leads into Atlas Hightower versus Nate Luttrell.
Well, Atlas Hightower is a dude out of Detroit who is just like, man, he came around in May, I believe it was, when he debuted, and the audience just took to him immediately. He's got a ton of energy. He's all excitement. He's just, he looks like a pro wrestler, and he acts like I don't even know what to say. It's like all energy, all hype, all just.
So he stays that with the whole match?
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
And it doesn't seem like he ever takes a minute off. Like he keeps the audience engaged.
And,
he keeps the audience engaged, and he's got a pretty unorthodox style in terms of the fact that he's like a really tall dude, but he moves like a cat. Like, he's got great movement in the ring.
Always good.
And Nate is a guy who's a ring veteran, has been around for a long time. And Atlas Hightower got the win there, and it was a really fun match. The audience loved it, and Atlas Hightower is just like, every time he's performed an armbar, again, it was like we just seem to have this like very fortunate situation where we're only bringing guys in and girls in to compete on our shows that every time they show up they're just better somehow. And Atlas is one of those dudes. I love watching him compete. I love that like he doesn't leave anybody in the audience wanting anything. Like anybody that looks at him that wants to connect with him, he makes sure to connect with them. It's very cool to watch.
Yeah.
And he's a young guy that I'm really interested to see what the future looks like for him.
Okay. And I did see there was a ladies match that was added, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Can we kind of discuss on that? Tell me their names.
Two brand new competitors to ArmBar Pro from St. Louis. We had Ashlyn Alexander come in, and she's someone that we've had on the radar for quite a while. We were really happy that we finally got to bring her in to come and compete. She calls herself the Power Rough Girl, which is a cool nickname, I think. Right. She took on Reese Ramon, the show pony. Again, both made their debut on Saturday. And both were incredibly impressive, and Reese Ramon was able to just get the win by about that much. It was a really great match, one of my favorite women's matches that we've had for sure. And that's really cool too about armbar is like we're always finding women on the independent scene and giving them an opportunity to come and perform on our stage. It's very cool to see, because I have yet to see a women's match in ArmBar Pro where they don't rise to the occasion. We have Mika from West Virginia, who is making her way to armbar.
I was wondering how she pronounced her name, because mine's Mika and it's spelled M-I-K, and so was hers, but she's Mika, right?
Yeah, she's the hidden gem, Mika. Yeah, she is awesome, and she's ruthless. I mean, she comes out to the ring, and it's never about like a match. She wants to fight. She's a fighter. It is quite a sight, because when you show up and you see like the toughest person in the ring is like a female wrestler, you're like, that's pretty cool.
Right.
That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. And she since she's debuted in armbar, has taken on competitors from all over the place of all different levels of experience, from someone like Mickey Knuckles, who's like a legend, to Georgia South, who's someone who's just breaking into the business. And Mika, the cool thing about Mika is she can compete against all of them at the highest level. So Ashlyn and Reese making their way to armbar, for me in my head, I'm thinking like, these are two girls that I would love to see mix it up with someone like Mika, who is our most tenured female wrestler. She's competed at more armbar shows than any other female wrestler in the independent scene. She's one to watch, and I think that Ashlyn and Reese are also going to fit in very well with the female competitors we bring into armbar.
Yeah, I noticed, because a lot of the wrestlers, I looked up as many clips as I could on each of them, and yeah, I can see the talent and what they put forth from the different places they have displayed their skills at, and I cannot wait to see more females, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, so tell me a little bit more about, if there any backstory on any of these matches that's going to be, you feel, continuing that we need to pay attention to and look out for?
Well, it really comes down to the talent. Like with the first match we talked about, Damian Chambers, that guy, it seems like every time he shows up, he makes a new enemy.
That's pretty bad.
Because he's always got his eyes set on the title. He wants to be ArmBar Pro champion, probably about as much as Troy Parker wants to remain ArmBar Pro champion. Yeah. But during his quest to kind of get back to that, he has made enemies with Donovan Cecil, the Mammoth, and they don't call him the Mammoth because he's small. He's a giant, and so not someone I would want on my bad side. And again, Anthony Toa-Tale, another guy who's got issues with Damian Chambers. Damian Chambers and a guy by the name of Spencer Slade, who's the NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion right now, an unbelievable athlete. Dude looks like he was made in a wrestling factory.
Oh, wow.
He and Chambers have mixed it up quite a few times. I don't think Aaron Williams likes Damian Chambers very much. I'm not a big fan of Damian Chambers, so I guess the ongoing story with Damian Chambers is his growing list of enemies that he continues to cultivate.
They're all going to come and cash in eventually.
Yeah, that's the thing is the list has gotten so long now that JP had to put him in a tag match because both Cecil and Toa-Tale were like, hey, I need to get my hands on Damian Chambers. So we can do this in the ring or we can do it somewhere else. And that was why JP set up that tag match. So Damian Chambers and the continued disgust that everybody has for him. Aaron Williams and Ben Boone since March have had issues with one another. They had a match in May at Power Trip, and Aaron won the match, but Ben did what he does and kicked Aaron in the jewels, just like he kicked me in the jewels, just like he kicked the referee in the jewels. So that was when. So when the ref went down in the match Saturday, that was why Aaron came out and stopped Ben from laying Troy out with the belt, because Aaron didn't get involved physically. He just he kept Ben from cheating to win. I don't think the issues there are resolved at all. I think Ben and Aaron Williams are going to continue to have problems. So that'll be something to keep an eye out. I don't think that's at all said and done. Of course, Nick Altima and Beck Reeves, we'll have to see, like I've talked about before, they're due to tag up again. They're due to compete as a team again in the future.
Yeah.
What's that going to look like? That story to me is incredibly intriguing. Let's see what else we got going on. With Troy Parker and his continued ascension as the ArmBar Pro Heavyweight Champion. That's something nobody should be overlooking right now.
Right.
I would put the matches that he has had against any independent title match anywhere. I'll be honest with you. I have the rough cut of Troy Parker versus Dakota Wolf from our May 30th show, Power Trip, and I have watched that match like 7 times. It was that good. It was an incredible match. One of those that, like, if it was like a tape trading situation, people would be going crazy for it. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that winds up, or I'm looking forward to seeing where Troy goes from here in terms of competing, because his next opponent is already on the docket. He's going to compete against Spencer Slade, who's coming back in August on the 22nd. They're going to be in the main event for the ArmBar Pro title. That's going to be an incredible match. Spencer Slade is a dude.
Sounds like it.
I mean, he's on everybody's radar right now. He's going to be. I look at him and I'm like, well, that's got to be the next big thing. He's got to be the next guy. And he loves ArmBar. He loves coming to ArmBar and competing in our ring, which is great for us because our audience loves seeing him. I think he's been at four shows, I believe, 4 ArmBar shows, maybe. I could be misremembering that, but he got offered.
It's a lot of wrestling to keep up with, so it's hard.
For sure, and especially with on the independent scene, because everybody wrestles everywhere. So
yes.
But Spencer, he's coming back, and he was offered an opportunity to compete for the title, and he's a smart man. He said yes. So August 22nd at Mayhem in Mercer County, it'll be Troy Parker and Spencer Slade for the ArmBar title, and I can't start thinking about that match right now to get me way too excited, and then I'll be like one of those wind up dolls, like ding ding ding, trying to
process it all.
Just absolutely freaking out, frothing at the mouth at how excited I am about that match.
I love looking forward to a good match.
Doesn't matter. We are ripe with story, like from top to bottom. I mean, there's stuff happening all over the place, and I talked about Damian Chambers and the problems, the list of growing enemies. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Zach Abstract, who's a guy who has competed for us a few times. He's over in Japan right now.
Oh, wow.
But okay. I've stayed in contact with him a little bit, kind of updating him on what's going on in ArmBar, and I know that he's looking forward to coming back and getting his hands on Damian Chambers again. So. Do
you know around when that is supposed to take place, or?
I don't know quite yet. I'm not sure when he's coming back to be an ArmBar again. Like I said, he's in Japan right now, and he's doing great things over there. I mean, he's a guy he's another guy that I love watching wrestle and love talking to him. He's very smart, very, very skilled beyond his years, and he's doing big things.
Yeah, I hear a lot of wrestlers go train in Japan, and it just makes them better.
Oh, yeah,
I hear
absolutely.
That a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that.
So, with all the matches being said, where you said some of the next places, I know we can't really talk about dates, but some of the next places you're heading to, so maybe somebody's like, oh, I live by there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to head there. Where are they going?
Well, let's see. August 8th, which is, a little over a week away, we will actually be at Wright State. We're going to be featured at a fitness expo. I don't know all of the details quite yet of that. We haven't really started blowing that up on our social media just yet, but we're getting there. So that's happening. I don't know how exactly that's going to work, if it's like a ticketed event.
It's just like a little spoiler for people to look forward and look at the page and like, hey,
let's
see when this is going to happen.
Instead of it being like a wrestling show, it's more of a showcase.
Yeah.
We get an hour to kind of entertain the audience that's there, and that's an opportunity just to put more eyes on our product. So it was no brainer for us. August 22nd, we debut in Mercer County at a venue called the Shipyard. I'm really looking forward to that one. The main event has already been booked, like we talked about. Spencer Slade is going to compete against Troy Parker for the ArmBar Pro title. So that's coming up on the 22nd. Mercer County, I believe that's like Salina. It's up north. And then October 3rd, we are doing our second stint at the New Carlisle Heritage of Flight Festival.
Okay.
And we did that last year. Didn't really know what to expect, having never, that was our first festival that we'd ever set up and had a show.
Yeah.
And it was like just a sea of people. Like everybody at the festival just migrated towards the wrestling ring.
Of course, with wrestling, you know.
And like the crowd, it was like overwhelming how many people were there watching us. So we weren't as prepared. This year we're going into it much more prepared. We're going to have a full card and it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm really looking forward to that one. That'll kind of round out the summer. And like I keep telling people we're in the summer of ArmBar, you know,
Yeah.
but really 2026 has been the year of ArmBar. I mean, we started we started in January with Resolute and we haven't looked back. It's only gone upwards from
That's
there.
beautiful.
It's been great. The momentum, just no slowing down.
I love that. And speaking about when you're talking about people gravitating toward wrestling, I want to talk about that for a minute because you hear some people go, oh my God, you're talking about wrestling. They don't know or they haven't watched what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But them being able to walk over and be like, this is what pro wrestling is? I think that's more of a draw than trying to tell somebody. But they see you get excited, but they're like, this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And then when they go see it or they get excited and get involved in the match, it's like, okay, so how do you feel about that?
Well, ArmBar is the perfect vehicle for that because, you know, there are a lot of wrestling companies, and not to knock anybody, not to hate on anyone else's product, but there are just a lot of other wrestling companies out there who don't put the amount of time
Effort
and thought into the fan experience that we do.
Right.
So I say that meaning that when you walk into whatever venue ArmBar Pro is running, you know it's a big deal. We have a big set. We have professional lighting. We have a professional ring. We have the video monitors and all of the fog machines and all the craziness and all the spectacle that you would expect from a wrestling show. So there's a world of difference between watching wrestling on TV and being in the audience and being a part of it. You know, because when you're at a wrestling show, it's not like going to a wrestling show isn't like going to a football game. You go to a football game, the players are a mile away, they can't hear you, they're not trying to interact with you. At a wrestling show, when you're in the audience, you're part of the show. You know, you're a part of what's happening. Your
reaction is what drives the wrestlers.
Exactly,
right?
exactly. And the wrestlers a lot of times feed off that. They want to interact with the crowd. ArmBar is so perfect for that because you can, even if you've never watched wrestling before, you can walk into or up to or whatever we're doing and see just by the amount of the amount of time we put into building our set and how it all looks and the production value that like, oh cool, this is something a little different. This is something a little bigger. This is something that's on a different scale. So from that aspect, I think if people were coming to this festival and they'd never seen wrestling before, but their friend was like a wrestling fan, like we got to go check this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell the friend that likes wrestling, like you have to get them here. You have to get them in front of what we're doing.
Exactly.
Give them a top flight experience in terms of their first exposure to professional wrestling by exposing them to what ArmBar is doing because I have said this on your show. I have said it on Good Day Dayton. I have said it on every podcast I've ever been a part of. The number one priority at ArmBar Pro Wrestling is the fan experience. It always has been. It always will be. We have cultivated that, and that was our mission from day one, was to make sure that when you walk into, whether it's the Metropolis or if we're in Xenia or Pickler, wherever we are, when you walk into our world, it's like you're in for something interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You're in for something different.
And not just that, like I've always watched wrestlers say over the years, there's been a couple of them, I cannot remember who said it, but you perform the same way if there were 3 fans or 3,000 fans.
Mm-hmm.
You don't dumb it down because you only got like 2 people watching you. So.
Sure. Well, the good news about ArmBar is we never have 3 fans. We always have a room full of people that are really enthusiastic about what we're doing. And I think October 3rd, when we're back in New Carlisle, it'll be, I mean, even if the amount of people watching is the same, it was wall to wall. It was quite an experience. I've been a musician my whole life. I've never played music in front of that many people.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was very eye-opening.
So now we're gonna have a little bit of fun,
Uh-oh.
and then our little Mount Rushmores. We were going to do a Mount Rushmore of technical wrestlers and a Mount Rushmore of tag teams or factions.
Mm-hmm.
And we will start with technical. Go ahead with your list.
I love the Mount Rushmore discussions because, like, how do you quantify it? Like,
Yeah.
what's the my Mount Rushmore? Like, if we're talking like influence on the business, if we're talking just my 4 favorite wrestlers, and I guess maybe that's what's kind of cool about it is it only limits you to four selections.
Right.
In terms of like technical wrestling, that's tough. Because like that's my main like bread and butter as far as watching wrestling.
Yeah, that's a lot of them. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the, and for me, technical wrestling is it's not a lot of moves. It's well performed moves that make sense. It's well performed. Like you can go out and do all the moves, and like that's fine. That's great.
Execution. Yeah. That's how you make it look.
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Really, more than
Tell
anything.
a story.
So number 1, for I guess if we're looking at Mount Rushmore, furthest to the left or my left or camera or whatever, Bret the Hitman Hart. And you can argue with me all day. He's the best technical wrestler that ever lived. But I would also put Bryan Danielson on my list of the greatest technical wrestlers that ever lived. I don't know that he's looked at quite as much as a technical wrestler, but a guy like Roderick Strong, who's his main claim to fame is Ring of Honor.
Right.
The king of the backbreaker. Just the dude is just he's a guy who like again like he can do all the moves, but like when you watch him, it's mesmerizing. Everything means
he flows
something.
And he tells a story.
Yeah, everything means something, and he's really fun to watch. Oh man, the fourth one is the hardest one. The fourth name on my technical wrestling Mount Rushmore, I probably have to go with. And again, is he considered a technical wrestler? I don't know. In my book, he is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Yeah.
Nobody had a better arm drag in the history of professional wrestling.
Right.
And that guy had matches that are all-time greats with Ric Flair, Rick Rude, Randy Savage, just to name a few. Never had a bad match with anybody and could do everything in the ring, like everything. He did the high flying, did all of the really great mat wrestling stuff that I really like to see. So that would probably be my list. And then like if you ask me tomorrow, it might change because
because you're feeling different after watching a couple of rematches or something.
I'll say Bret Hart, Bryan Danielson, Roderick Strong, and who was the fourth one? I already forgot what I said. Ricky Steamboat. Yeah, sorry, my memory sucks. So, but yeah, that as far as technical wrestlers, I would probably give them the nod for my 4. My honorable mention list would be like miles long, but
right, because there's a lot of them. Yeah. Mine was Bret the Hitman Hart, Dean Malenko, Shelton Benjamin, and my last one was Daniel Bryanson, Bryan Danielson. How he's changed him a couple times. Yeah. Those were my 4. And what impressed me most about Bryan Danielson, whatever god dang he's going by now, I watched him do like an Iron Man match. Mm-hmm. And he lasted, but he kept me entertained the whole time he did it. He knew when things started slowing down, do something to get your attention back again. He did that the whole hour, and that gets my respect right there.
Danielson has so many matches that I could cite that I'm like, he's one of the greatest that's ever done it. Yeah. But honestly, one of the things that impressed me the most about him was like after he had his neck injury and stuff, he came back and he did it was the first Royal Rumble they did over in the Middle East, but they called it like the greatest Royal Rumble ever.
I think I know.
He was in the match for like an hour and a half or something crazy.
You gotta have serious endurance for that.
It was insane. Wow. He lasted all that time in that match, and I was just
I'd have been passed out in the corner nursing my wounds like half an hour in.
Yeah, and it wasn't even really like the match. It was just his performance was like, wow, like holy crap. Yeah. And I loved his the part that he played in WrestleMania 30. Yeah. Probably him and his his performance at WrestleMania 30 made WrestleMania 30 my favorite WrestleMania for a long time.
Right.
And I mean, and then of course, like there's all these matches I've watched of him on burnt DVDs and copied tapes where he's wrestling in a gym in front of 40 people, and you would think he's in Wembley wrestling in front of 80,000. It's amazing.
Right. And watching him, he is the great faker. You ever notice his matches, he'll look like he's really hurt, and you're like, oh my God, is he really, really injured? Yeah. And you cannot tell with him, so he will fake you out so quick, and I'll just be like, really? You played me that whole time? But he's good at it. So I give him props for being that kind of man wrestler.
You mentioned Dean Malenko too.
Yeah.
I do want to throw this out there to your audience. If I tell you no other matches to go and watch, this match it's one of the most underrated matches I have ever seen. It was at I believe it was Bash at the Beach. I can't remember if it was 95.
Oh, Lord, you went back in the vault for that one.
It was 90. It might have been 96. I think it might have been 96. Dean Malenko versus Disco Inferno of all people.
Oh yeah.
Banger match. I was like,
I have to go back and watch
like, Dean Malenko got a killer match out of the Disco Inferno. I was like,
the man of 1,000 moves is what they call it.
Unbelievable match. And his run with Chris Jericho in WCW was great. That was classic. It was so much fun.
Right, you can go back and just watch hours of wrestling and be like, oh my God, I don't remember that match. Now I do, but yeah. So now we're gonna go to tag teams.
Mm-hmm.
Your Mount Rushmore.
FTR, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler.
Yeah.
I consider myself mostly old school. Like I've been watching. Actually, SummerSlam will be my 38th anniversary as a wrestling fan. 38 years that I've been watching wrestling, and so I consider myself mostly old school. But those guys are old school. Like they're kind of off right now, but they wrestle in this era.
Yeah.
But they're a throwback. And I when I think about the list of teams that they've wrestled and the amount of matches they've had, like my favorite wrestling match in the history of the business for the longest time has been Steve Austin versus Bret Hart from WrestleMania. And a lot of people would pick that match. A lot of people would say that's their favorite match. It's a great match. But when FTR and the Young Bucks wrestled at Wembley Stadium, I can't remember the stakes ever feeling higher for a match for me, ever. In my entire life as a wrestling fan. They were 1-to-1 matches against each other, FTR and the Young Bucks, and I just am not. I don't like to say I hate anyone in wrestling. I don't like to say they suck or this or that. I just I always go back to it's like music. It's not my cup of tea. But the Young Bucks are not and have never been my cup of tea. They're just not. FTR are my favorite tag team of all time. I have them tattooed on my stomach.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But they'd had this series of matches with the Young Bucks where, like I said, it went 1-to-1, and the rubber match, their third match was at Wembley for I believe it was either All In or All Out or whichever one it was.
Right, I get lost on those too. Yeah.
And I just I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. When the Philadelphia Eagles won the Super Bowl, I lost my mind. I jumped in the air and screamed. I'm crying and everything else. My reaction to FTR beating the Young Bucks was even more than that. I was so happy that FTR got that 2-to-1 advantage and retained their belts. And I can't remember ever reacting to another match or a sporting event like that. So that became my favorite match of all time because I'm like, I don't ever remember. There's never for any sport I've ever cared about, any team, anything. I've never been I never had a reaction like that. So I just told my buddy Tyler. Shout out to Tyler. What's up, dude? I told him, he was there watching that with me. I was like, that's my favorite wrestling match that ever happened ever. He's like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. I've never reacted that way to a wrestling match ever. I lost it. It was amazing. So FTR number 1, Heart Foundation number 2, Motor City Machine Guns number 3, Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, two dudes who oh my God, I'm dying to get them into ArmBar Pro.
That would be good.
If they start taking bookings on the indies, I'm like, oh, we got to get those guys. That would be incredible. And the Brainbusters, Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard.
Oh, 4 Horsemen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, the Brainbusters are more of a WWF thing.
Yeah.
Because they left Crockett and went to WWF. But they have I believe it was the SummerSlam '89. I think was Brainbusters and the Heart Foundation. It's just one of the greatest tag team matches you'll ever see.
Matches back then were just always top tier. Always. There was barely ever a show you get bored.
So we'll say FTR, Heart Foundation, Motor City Machine Guns, and the Brainbusters.
Okay.
Demolition is my honorable mention though, and the Midnight Express as my honorable mention.
Oh my goodness, you went back. Well, yeah. I like. Oh my gosh, I had my name in my head. Hardy Boys. I do like them. God, what was my second one called? I know I should know this by heart, but my brain kind of froze up. If I want to throw in, forgive my brain for just freezing on me because I just had them all in here. I like Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Mm-hmm.
I like Road Warriors.
Yeah, the Road Warriors were a hell of an attraction back in there, no question.
And, oh God, what was my fourth one? I was just thinking about them. I swear I hate my brain. I had them all written down and everything. They're right on the tip of my tongue. We're going to go to factions because I'm going to leave it at 3.
Cool.
So,
cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to take forever to search my brain cells right now. Faction-wise, I like the Brood. I liked the Shield. I liked, NWO, obviously, and I liked the Wolfpack. So
I can't consider myself much of a faction guy because I think factions, they have to really, really make sense. It's not to me.
Four Horsemen. Oh my God.
Yeah. It's almost more important to me that the makeup of the faction make more sense than them being historic. You know what I mean? Because for me, the NWO is the most historic faction in wrestling probably. I couldn't give a rip about the NWO. Now a lot of that's born from the fact that I just didn't really watch WCW. But I think the greatest faction in the history of wrestling is the Dangerous Alliance, and hardly anyone ever talks about the Dangerous Alliance because it was
refresh me on that.
Early '90s WCW. Paul Heyman was the manager. He was Paulie Dangerously back then, carried the big phone.
Yeah.
Rick Rude.
From ECW show.
Rick Rude was in that group as well. He was kind of the feature. He was the world champion at the time, I believe. Medusa, Arn Anderson, Larry Zbyszko.
I think now it's starting to trigger me with all the people being together. Yeah.
And Stunning Steve Austin. Steve Austin's first real notable presentation.
Role.
Yeah. Super underrated. They did a War Games match, I think against Sting's Squadron or something like that. One of the best War Games matches you've ever seen. Just an absolutely brutal fight. But yeah, super, super underrated faction. I would also say the Triple Threat from ECW, Shane Douglas, the franchise.
Yeah.
The most underrated, I always say the most underrated wrestler of all time. The most underrated wrestler of all time, folks, is Jay Lethal. And I'm wearing his t-shirt today. Jay Lethal is the most underrated wrestler of all time. I just want to put that out there. And I'm not going to say anybody else is the most underrated wrestler of all time. But the wrestler that I did want to say that about, Chris Candido, a guy who in the history of the business just kind of gets forgotten and glossed over, but an absolute, just incredible performer in the ring. And then Bam Bam Bigelow, who is...
Oh, my Lord, yeah.
You will not convince me that there's a better big man in the history of wrestling than Bam Bam Bigelow. He is the blueprint for being an incredibly over big man wrestler.
Yeah.
Just... again, no bad matches.
Yeah, it's the bigger guys, usually they're just known for strength, but not, endurance and lasting long and hurting people, but...
A 400-pounder doing cartwheels and moonsaults. And, yeah, he was awesome. So I'll say the Dangerous Alliance, and then I would say the Triple Threat. I would probably put the Shield in there just for what they represent, because all three of those guys, I think that...
Big stars.
Again, it's not really, is it about... it's about the presentation and more so, but they had the presentation and they had the impact, because those three guys are they're kind of running the business.
They were a very unique faction if you think about it, because they all went on and they separately are huge stars, all three of them.
Yeah,
so nobody in the group was a little grunt in the group,
Yeah, they had a great run as a group, and then when they it's usually with a group of wrestlers they break off and one, maybe two kind of grab the spotlight
and the rest
on their own.
Of them
All three of those guys are huge megastars, and I love that. I think that's cool, especially with a guy like Moxley, who's basically local from Cincinnati. He's wrestled so many of the guys that I talk to and hang out with, and
he always jacked up Damian Chambers and the other company. I was cracking up every time he'd get in the ring. He'd just beat him down. He'd always get finished off because he was talking smack.
As far as a fourth one, just for the sake of comedy, I'm going to say Kai and Tai.
What was the name?
Kai and Tai.
Oh,
They were like an Attitude Era group of Japanese wrestlers. They did a lot of comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Sho Funaki was part of that group, and I don't know. I mean, like, they didn't have much of an impact on the business, but they were hilarious.
Right. Have small little things you don't notice.
Taka Michinoku at one point in the Royal Rumble gets thrown over the top rope and lands like 1,000 miles an hour, chin first on the ground. Like, it was the most incredible thing. His face bounces off the floor, and I was just like, oh my god, they killed Taka Michinoku.
Right, like literally killed, because like.
But he made it out. He's tough. So
he wasn't all broken jaw, broken chin, nothing.
No, I don't know. I'm sure he was injured in some way, and definitely he absolutely had to at least have a concussion. But they weren't taking concussions as seriously back then, obviously. So.
Right, right. Woo, that's why you got so much crazy stuff going on now. Well, with that being said, can you leave the contact information for ArmBar where people can watch you guys and stuff?
Well, our website is armbarproevents.com, but anywhere on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know if we have a Twitter or not. I'm not sure, but just ArmBar Pro Wrestling everywhere. And we're an awesome follow no matter what you're on. Like we have excellent content, and we're very mindful about what we put out. We try to make sure that we're not spamming anybody with a bunch of crap. We try to make sure everything is on point. And yeah, I encourage everybody to go follow us on any of your social media, ArmBar Pro Wrestling.
Okay. And I will be putting out information of where their next shows will be and share that on my social media as well. I want to thank you so much again for showing up again, Jarrod. It was fun as hell talking wrestling with you.
It's like therapy.
Right.
It's like a therapy session.
Right. So I'm hoping when you guys are going to be in the next couple months, let me know, have you back on, update you guys, and have some work on wrestling.
That sounds really awesome. Shout out to my wife, Amy. Love you.
Oh, there you go. Say it again.
Shout out to my wife, Amy. Love you.
Thank you so much again. And thank you for watching the Mika Wilkerson Show. See you next week.